Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We're here and we got Pat Spratt joining us tonight, and we're going to be talking about coaching and games development in the club and how you might utilise the benchmarking process to maximise opportunities. So Pat will lead it, but we'll probably be working a bit in collaboration. A lot of stuff with both of us will be working on, but as I said, Pat will be driving on. The topics we're going to go through will be we'll just have a quick introduction to Pat. We'll go through the club school link, we'll go through the nursery, the child player, youth player, and any questions you may have after that. Feel free to fire them. So if you have a question, you can just click on the chat option. You can see if you move your mouse around the screen, you'll find the chat option there somewhere. It might be up in the more option, and you can just throw it in there and we'll get it dealt with as soon as we can. Okay, so welcome, Pat. You might give a quick brief background on yourself, please.
Hi everybody, thanks Colin for the opportunity to come on. I hope you're all well. Hard times, but look, keep positive, and that's what I'm trying to do. And you know, webinars like this are good. You know, they're healthy for people, and you know, it's nice to get the opportunity to come on, as I say. Like, you know, so I suppose for me, I'm from Bullivant originally. I started out as a GDA 5 years ago. My area covers from, we'll say, from Rockchapel over to Aragon. So it's a big area. It covers all of Avondhu and Duhallow. So that's kind of the area I'm based in. I'm from Bullivant originally, you know, and I've had I suppose the good fortune of working with a Cork under 20 All Ireland winning team. Last year I was with the minor team in 2012, and you know, I worked with CIT, coach CIT this year to win the senior football All Ireland in the college. And you know, I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of you know, good teams, and you know, built up a lot of experience and along the way. So fortunate enough, really, like, but that's the way it fell for me, like, you know, and you know, and look forward to new challenges in the future as well. So probably a small bit about me anyway, like, you know, just a kind of an introduction.
Thanks for that, Pat. So look, we'll get straight into it. Like, I suppose we as part of our role as GDAs, the benchmarking with the clubs would be a large focus point throughout the year. It puts a bit of guidance for anyone who's unfamiliar with it. What it is, we basically ask clubs to I suppose tick a load of boxes to ensure that they're best practice in a lot of areas. And we work it through a bronze, silver and gold structure. And the bronze would kind of start off, it will be very much focused on club schooling. So just the four main topics that we'd be looking for would be coaching assistance to all the schools in the catchment. So that's pretty self-explanatory, Pat, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, look, basically what we're going to talk about tonight really is a kind of a pathway. And, you know, we're schools are a big part of that, nursery, and we're going right into adults, you know, from a young age. So starting off down at this level, I suppose, yes, schools are vital, schools are huge, like, because schools are where the numbers are. It's where the kids are, like, it's where our players are, or future players maybe that haven't joined up at all. And, you know, if we can get in there and grab their imagination and you know, show a good impression that, you know, you never know maybe what you'll be unearthing in time, you know. The schools for us, yes, Colin, yeah, we're broke into with benchmarking. We have a bronze and a silver and a gold category, and schools is to the forefront on our benchmarking. Like, if you're not in your national school, basically your club isn't on benchmarking. Cork is not recognised, and I think rightly so. We only look for, you know, a minimum of coaching sessions really from every club. Now, obviously, you'd look to get as many sessions in as you possibly can in schools, you know, but there's a new scheme out now called the 5-Star Centre in Cork, and we're working with schools where, when we're not there, the teacher does GAP in our absence, so that when we come back in, the kids are getting extra sessions done until we come back into the school again. So I suppose basically what we're looking for is the club to go away and organise the coaching within the school to create a heads of agreement document that will be signed off by the school principal and the school. And I suppose what that does really is that it binds both in together. It shows the principal and the teachers what the club are going to give to the school and what they can do for the PE and for the kids, and maybe the club school later in the year and stuff like that. Like, so it's just kind of a written agreement of, yeah, we're going to come in and we're going to help out and we're going to do X, Y, and Z in the school over the school year. And that's what benchmarking is for us. If the school doesn't come in and sit down and work out a plan with the school, with the principal and with the teachers, we don't recognise them as a benchmarking club.
Yeah, and I suppose just sorry, Pat, just on a few of those things here, like the heads of agreement is basically, for anyone unfamiliar with it, it's basically just, I suppose, a formal line of communication between the club and a school, in that there would be that the club would offer assistance in these areas, but also that if the school have facilities that might be of use to the club, that there's a discussion on how they might utilise that. So as I said, if a school had a large indoor hall and the club didn't, then the club would be able to use that maybe for nursery on a Saturday morning, and vice versa. The school would be able to use the club facilities at various times.
Yes.
And just the minimum coaching requirements, then, Pat, what would be the expectation from Rebel Oak?
Well, I suppose the minimum we'd be looking for would be 4 and 4. So you do 4 football sessions and 4 hurling sessions, which are junior infants, senior infants, first and second classes. Now, obviously, benchmarking is made out for urban and rural areas. So, like, we could be, behind in Kishgame, or we could be above in the bars, and the same document covers, this small community and the large area, like on the large club, so the minimum requirement is that they go in and they do 4 hurling and 4 football sessions over the school year. And there'll be a 6 and 6 category then, and an 8 and 8 category. Now, a lot of clubs are way ahead. A lot of clubs have like a full-time coaching, and they're covering most of the year. They're in there, once a week for most of the year. They're covering, maybe junior infants and first class for the first 4 weeks, and then they'll change and they'll go on to another block and so on. But other clubs then wouldn't be as fortunate and would find it hard to get school coaches and people to go into schools. Like, so, they'd be drawing off of maybe somebody that's working that maybe on shift that could go in and commit to 4 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it would be. And it varies, like, I know it's tough, like, to get people to go into schools, like, but it's just so important for the club. And that's what we're talking about really here, is the club, like, but I know we're on schools, like, but, it comes back to the club, that the club goes in and, they provide that service, and that they do the PE, like, for the kids, like, once a week,
Yeah, and I suppose, like, every club that has ever been successful would attribute the work that goes on to link with the local primary school would be huge. And I suppose, sorry, one thing just to catch up in the end, that then I know you did a couple of projects in urban areas. So, like, look, I know Cork, while it is a massive county and spread out, there is an awful lot of urban areas, and you did a project specific to Mallow lately. You might just be able to brief us on that a small bit.
Yes, I suppose, look, Mallow is a big area, covering, a lot of schools, and there's a lot of classes. You might have 3 to 4 junior infants and senior infants in first and second classes in each school. So it's a project we took on over a 6-week period, where we went in and we just focused on one class, which was second class, and we did 6-week coaching. Now, we put a bit of a kicker in. I met with each of the principals, and they were delighted with the idea, and where we would come in and we put our time to the classes. But the kicker was that when we weren't there, the teacher would continue on with what I did on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday, whatever day I was there, that she would do it twice more that week, or he'd do it twice more that week in the schoolyard during PE time. So that when I was going back in again, then we were doing a different plan and a different schedule, and we were building up really towards a big day in the town park in Mallow, where we brought the bones of 200 kids from second class only in Mallow down to take part in the blitz. boys and girls. And when we brought them down, we split them up then, into, we just mixed up all the schools basically. We didn't have one school playing against the other. And we put a boys section and a girls section into it, so they all had loads of game time. And we introduced them to the pitch and to the area, and got Denny Cullity, who was the chairperson in Mallow, to come down and to meet the kids and to talk with the kids. And in talking to Denny afterwards, like, he was, a bit taken aback by some of the talent that was there, because, like, look, it was Mallow's a huge area, like, very hard to find and to know every player and every family in a big area like that. It's different to a place like Ballintwill, say, where I'm from, where everybody kind of knows everybody or knows of someone anyway, like, that you have a good idea of how many 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds or 6-year-olds you have, and who are they, and how many boys and girls are there, but in the bigger area like Mallow, you wouldn't. And there's a lot of talent out there, like, and a lot of kids, like, in a big area like that, without transport and with everything, would find it hard even to get out to the pitch, to cargo. A great exercise. Teachers are very happy about it, because I suppose it built up a very good relationship between ourselves and the school principal, number one, and in the class teacher, number two. Because we were doing a curriculum for the teacher as well as for the class. And we were educating the teacher, but the big thing was that we were getting the child ready to go down and participate in the blitz. And the big one is, I suppose, 70% of the kids, 60% of the kids maybe didn't play any GAA or hadn't played any GAA, going down to the pitch on the day. So, being able to pick the ball up and kick the ball and do all that kind of stuff, like, was a big thing for them. Like, and there was a lot of practice going on at home and things, so it was a nice project. And it's a project that we're doing at the moment in Kanturk now as well. We just started it before the coronavirus kicked in, but we'll be going back to it hopefully again as soon as the school opens, and we'll continue it on for the 6 weeks again, and we will have a big day out and be in there as well. So it's just something I'm doing in the bigger towns.
Okay.
And
just, I suppose, just on the minimum game opportunities there, like, what we, like, the subsection of that is a version of what you're saying you did in Mallow, in that we ask clubs to host a club school link or a club link blitz, where they bring all the kids down, exactly like you're doing, bring all the kids from a number of age groups down to the club to take part. So that kind of blitz can happen anytime throughout the year, but we like to see it happening kind of coming into the, I suppose, around April, May, when club action is up and running. And like that, there's kids, it just shows the link between the club and the school, and this is where the club is, because a lot of kids might never have been up there.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, well, again, no, it's great, like, because, like, again, in the bigger area, the smaller towns, again, no, I'm repeating myself, I know, like, but a lot of kids will be very familiar about the pitch and where the pitch is and how to get there and all that, but in the bigger areas, it's a big treat for some of the kids, to come down to the pitch and come in, and for the club to be able to show off what they have and what's available. It's also an opportunity maybe for them, to have a little, give them an alarm then going home, or give them a pencil or something like that on the day, a little souvenir going home after they take part in it. Like, it's a club school blitz day where we bring them down from the school into our club, introduce them to our club, and maybe send them home then with a picture in their mind, number one. Number two is that they would have a fantastic day and they'd have a good experience, a good first experience in a lot of cases for kids. And I suppose number three, maybe that, if you were ready and organised for it, that the club would be able to give them a little printout or a little handout of, your times and your schedule for training and what's available, and that they could bring home to their parents after the day out,
Yeah.
So that's what we would like to see happening.
Very good.
So basically, our schools are built around going in, hitting juniors to second class, over maybe an 8-week period, a 12-week period, and moving on down to the pitch then for a day out at some stage during the year.
Yeah, very good. And I suppose that links us into nursery, and like the nursery for us is probably 4s to 7s, maybe fours and sixes in some of the smaller clubs. But what it is that if we're providing, I suppose we're trying to the recruitment in the school, that we need to also give the kids that when they come up to the club, there's something actually for them. So having a strong link to the primary school is very important from a nursery perspective. So, go on, sorry, Pat.
Well, yeah, no, it's very important, really important. You know, I see there that like Bishopstown and Blarney, I think, took on Faulkner O'Connor there recently as a school's coach. You know, and it's great because, like, as part of his deal or his contract, I think he goes in on a Saturday morning into the nursery as well. So the face in the school is in the nursery as well when the child comes in. Now that I think would be a very, very important link, like from the school into the club, you know, from the schoolyard into the pitch or into the hall in the club. That familiar face is there, linking both.
Yeah, and like as I said, it's the classic example of a child coming up to the pitch with their mother or father, and they're able to point out and go, "Mammy, Daddy, that's my coach." You know, it has a link straight away, and the value of that. The nursery like providing a fun introduction to GAA and best practice fundamental movements. So you might just talk on the fundamental movements and the importance of that. Like as I said, I know that you yourself put a lot of emphasis on it with the smallies. But like for a parent, let's say, who's not aware of it and the benefits of it, and they're coming down the pitch and they're seeing running around and rolling around and that kind of stuff, and no hurley or football in sight, what's the benefit of the fundamentals? Well, why do we need to?
I suppose, yeah, I suppose, Colin, like for me, like when I'm coaching kids, like, you know, or coaching any group, I go back down to their level. Like, so if I'm coaching 6-year-olds, I think like a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old or whatever, like, you know. So the big thing, any child or any player, I think, like, I hope to see, like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing and you're not having fun, you're not going to be there. And that's very, very important, like, to state that. So that's, you know, being positive and having fun, right, are absolutely key and the most important altogether in a nursery, right? I think also with your nursery, like, that your best coaches in your club have to be down at nursery level. Teaching best practice early on is absolutely vital. That, you know, a child doesn't start off on the wrong footing and has to turn around and maybe change their habits and change their ways a year or two down the line. So things like that are very important. The other very important thing I'm saying, and this is all kind of serious stuff now, but it's important to say it because it's structure, is that I'd always give a very good example. I'd always build my model around the school. And anything I do in clubs, I think that what I would say to my coaches anywhere I go is that a child in first class does first class maths. They don't do 6th class maths. But we bring them into pitches and we bring them into halls and we expect them to be able to do 6th class stuff when they're in first class, if you understand what I mean. So having a curriculum, you know, for a child and having a pathway for a child is absolutely vital in my eyes, and that goes right the way through to youth and not into adults. So like in the nursery, I know we're kind of drifting a little bit from it, but coming back to the nursery, fundamental movements, fun games, you know, games like cups and saucers, you know, using the ball, running, jumping, throwing, you know, passing, catching, kicking, you know, all that incorporated around fun is absolutely vital for me. And, you know, the quicker you can do it, having a ball in your hand, even the better. You could be doing little runs and, you know, rolly overs or whatever, but you could still have a ball in your hand. You could still have a hurley or something in your hand that would just occupy your hands as well as, you know. So basically, like in a nursery, quicker you can go to using head, hands and feet, for me, is vital. Because when a child uses head, hands and feet, you know, your problems as a coach are had in that, you know, you have their undivided attention. They're attentive, you know, they're listening because they don't want to get it wrong. They're being challenged because they're being asked to use head, hands and feet. So, you know, you get them working in a way like that challenges them, you know, and by doing that then by having fun is absolutely key.
Yeah. Very good. Right, we move on to the silver then, which is the bronze covered mainly primary schools and the silver covers the child player. So we broached a small bit on it with the nursery, but the kind of four main things we're looking for here then. Child player coaching plan for 5 to 12-year-olds. We're looking for a minimum games requirement, midterm camps, coach education opportunities. So we'll touch on that there at the next one. But child player coaching plan for 5 to 12-year-olds. What are we expecting of that, or what should clubs be aspiring to?
Yeah, well, Colm, like, we kind of mentioned like the first class stuff for the first class boy, or the first class girl, whatever the case may be. The same applies here. Like, when the child is going down at 6 years of age, they do 6 years of age stuff. Like, they don't do 10 years of age stuff.
Yeah.
So you take it step by step. Like, the ideal scenario for me would be a nursery would be fundamental movements and a lot of skill-based stuff done in the nursery, right? They learn their skills. They learn it through like doing static, through movement, and through head, hands, and feet challenges. So they develop, along that direction. But first of all, obviously static first when they're learning something, and then move on to the next level and move on to the next level again. So having a coaching plan for your coach is absolutely vital. So your coaching officer basically will with the aid of a GDA or whatever, will have a coaching plan for your 6-year-olds or your 8-year-olds, and they'll have that out with their coaches and give it to them. And what it does really is, it like a good coaching plan is probably a page or 2 pages at most.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a bullet point down there that says maybe, stopping a moving ball, dribbling, or whatever the case may be, right? But what you want with a good coaching plan is a coach to go away and develop that plan himself. But all you're giving him is the bullet points, or her, you're giving her the bullet points to hit over the course of the year. It's up to them then to use their mind. I'd hate to be telling a coach and giving him a document that would have 40 pages in it and be saying, going away there now, look, everything is done for you. I'd give him the bullet points and I'd say, go away now and use your own mind and come up with a plan, come up with something that works in and around what we want you to do there for the year. So there might be 3 skills, maybe 3 to 4 skills a year for a 6-year-old, and 3 to 4 skills a year for an 8-year-old, and so on.
Yeah.
And they develop it over the course of the year. And next year, then a different coach might get. And like, I suppose the great example is, a 6-year-old, teach him how to use the hurley properly, hold the hurley properly. I mean, if you can do that at 6 and hand them over then to under 7s and leave the under 7 coach get them, and now they're holding the hurley properly, they're swinging the hurley properly. Look what can be done now, like in the next year. That's the importance of having a good coach and have a good club plan, in your nursery.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing with the club plan is that it's something that's designed by all the coaches in the club, as opposed to you, like you mentioned. Here's the plan. That's it. By every coach having an input into it is important. So, as I said, and it's probably something that needs to be reviewed regularly. So, as I said, if the under 10s are gone through the year and the under 10 coach feels that maybe that shouldn't be in that year, it should be a year earlier or a year later, then they can discuss that and they can alter it. But it's very important. Minimum games requirements then, Pat. I know we kind of, at Go Games, we kind of expect, we plan 10 hurling matches and 10 football matches a year as a minimum. A lot of people would say that the kids need more trainings. A lot would say that they need more matches. We kind of settled at 10, and we'd imagine that if that's 20 weeks of the year where they're playing a match, they're probably training for about 30 to 35. They might be doing 2 sessions a week. If you're getting 1 training or 2 trainings for every 1 match, we think that's a decent ratio. But would you run any other thoughts on that, Pat, or the importance? Why should we play so many games?
Look, I suppose, Colm, putting on my child hat again, or putting on my player's hat, every player or every child that signs up wants to play games, at the end of the day, and that's all we want to do. Like, so, I believe like that, a good coach will be able to coach through the games, be able to do and how you deal with the kids and how you're able to talk to your players and things like that. Like, for me, the more games that you play, the better it is, you know. And even like if you're not very confident as a coach, you know that's even more important again than like more matches, you know, that you just leave them off and you play, you know, because you're not giving really an awful lot of bad habits into them. You just leave them off, like, and you can find their level. And once you're able to spot the bits that are going wrong when the game is on and be able to talk to them maybe through it and be able to clarify at half time or be able. I personally would love to see a kind of a mere format with blitzes and with things where you'd have a coach that would stop roaring into the child.
Yeah.
And instead of roaring in and being lazy on the line, is what I call that, a lazy coach, that they'd actually run into the child and have a little chat and just explain what they want and run back out again. And I'm talking like about 20 seconds tops inside with the child and out. Filter your information fast and get out and leave them off and leave them play again. Just try to get your message across that way, you know.
Yeah. And I suppose just
are huge for me, like.
Yeah, and just in our perspective then, I suppose, from organising the games, like our thinking has been like, if you were like when there was no structure for under 12, let's say for under 10s and under 8s, under 9s, like the big clubs, the attractive clubs get invited to loads of blitzes. So you might have a child, you might have, let's say, just used Douglas for argument's sake. Douglas will get invited to a blitz down in Dr. Crokes. They'll get invited to a hurling blitz in De La Salle and Waterford, you know. Whereas the smaller clubs mightn't be that attractive to those blitz, to those other clubs to be inviting. And what we'd like is that every club gets an equal chance to play a minimum number of games. So as I said, be it the child in Killa, we'll get the same child opportunity as the child in Douglas. So that when they do get the development squads later on the line or try to play for Cork or whatever, that they're after getting a fair chance to be on equal footing. Because we do, like you'd see it, we're all conscious of some coaches and some teams, that if a team isn't good, the coach mightn't be as motivated, and then the coach mightn't go about organising the matches and stuff like that. They might give a walk over here or there. So it's important that there's a minimum set standard for every player.
Coaches will call them, like, you know, from a child's point of view, like even from a small rural area, like, you know, if Douglas are at the Blitz above in Parky Heath or the Bars or Nemo or any of these big clubs like in Cork, you know, that like if a team like Budden goes up or, you know, a small club, it's fantastic, like, to get drawn against Douglas and against these clubs and give our kids a chance to, you know, because they're going to come in with like 6 or 8 or 10 teams and we're probably coming up with 1 or 2 teams, and sure, like, it's very even, it's well evened off. To get the opportunity of playing these clubs and getting involved in that, and the months of that, like, and Parky Keith does that, and Colin yourself, like, when you organise the bits, it's like, you know, it's fantastic, like, for the kids to be able to play all these different clubs, you know.
Yeah, and it is true, like, as I said, what you mentioned, like, about playing for small clubs or for the clubs in the countryside to play the big city clubs, like, there's still an aura. Like, if you're playing Glen Rovers, you're playing against Hoggy's team. That's the way kids look at it. They look at it, they're playing Hoggy. They're essentially playing Hoggy's team, even though Hoggy's nothing to do with that age group or anything possibly. But, you know, for kids, that's how they see it. So it is important to try to get those games played. Midterm camps then, Pat, like, I know we're talking primarily Easter camps, which all fell by the wayside, apart from when we did ourselves, and the Halloween camps. What's the reason for having them in there? What were your thoughts on that? Is it just to keep them active a little bit longer at the end of the year or start of the year, or what?
You know, Colin, like, what I say to my clubs a lot, like, about camps, you know, like, people have an idea about camps like that, look, it's only ticking a box, and, you know, the cool camp down and we just do it, and like, I think of cool camps and I think of Halloween camps and Easter camps totally different now. When I was younger, maybe, and a younger coach starting out, I was thinking like everybody else, but for me now, like, if you can get, you know, a group of players in for 3 days, you know, into a coaching environment, you know, for 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day for 3 consecutive days in a row, or in a cool camp for 4 hours or 5 hours a day over 5 days, you know, I'd always explain it like it's like the Cork team going to Lemanga. You know, they're going over there to train in hot weather, they're training 3 sessions a day, you know, they're putting in that extra mile. And like, if we can use these camps the same way, to teach. And I'd always say to my coaches, especially my young coaches and things like that, like, you can make the difference. Like, if you can send a child away from the camp with a new idea, or teach them how to do something that they weren't able to training on a Tuesday night because there was down there that it was too busy and the coach wasn't able to get around to everybody. But if you're just able to get that penny to drop and teach them that extra little bit, these camps are absolutely massive for that. If they're structured properly, if they're organised, if there's a template going out for the coach, that we want you to work on this and this for the first hour, we want you to work on this and this for the second hour. That it's structured, you're able to take your time, it's skill-based, going into the game situation to work off the skill that you were doing in the drill previous. That kind of a structure would be huge for me. So in Easter, Halloween camp, absolutely vital.
Yeah, and look, I suppose they're a great advertisement for clubs as well, because I know there is some parents who mightn't be bringing the kids up to the club weekly, but they might avail of that, and it's a good advertisement to show them this is what we do and this is how fun and enjoyable it is. Last one is coach education opportunities. I'm going to slide on to the next one because it links with the child player and the youth player and a small bit of what we're doing today. But like, it's coach education is a huge part. I suppose, look, that's what we're doing at the moment, is educating coaches. Yeah. We're probably in the club planning workshop actually at the moment. Tonight's one is probably the benchmarking, is covering a small bit. But you might just go through there the various workshops that you were offering to your own coaches up in the North region. So you might start with the child workshops there at the top.
Yeah. I suppose, yeah, look, the workshops are here, like, they're playing to see this is what I offer to the clubs and what, all the GDAs are offering in all the areas. We do the club planning workshop, where we come in and do, like we're talking about here at the moment. And, you build a club plan and you hit your benchmarking targets. And then basically you're putting a structure, a spine in your club, right? And then you go from there into your practical workshops. So your child workshops would work on with nursery. You have a nursery workshop from 4 to 7s, and you have another workshop then with 7 to 12s, more skill-based workshops that I would do. So basically I'd get onto the clubs and go in and do these workshops for the coaches. I find that they're a great tool. A lot of my workshops I do by asking questions rather than going in and doing. I suppose when I started to do them first, I was going in and I was just rolling out a template and flying through it, and that was it, and I was done. Now I kind of go in and I ask questions and I put people into groups and put them talking, and then they come out and they do a skill or whatever, and then I come in and kick in and probably do 101 things before I leave. But there's great learning in them, and basically what workshops are like is they're a tool really for your coach. They're there to facilitate your coach, to kind of open their minds a little bit. And I learn out of most workshops from coaches, maybe more than what the coach would learn from me when I'm inside even. But they're a great tool and a great help to the coach afterwards, like when they go back out, so it's just a good support really, and a guide really for your club coach.
And I suppose, like, we're not looking for universal agreement on anything when we go in there. But I suppose, like, the thing is we're not looking to fight with everybody, but we're not looking for everyone to go, Jesus, yeah, you're right, that's how it should be done. I suppose what we're looking to do, as you said, is open their minds, just challenge them on a different way of thinking. And is that it's like everything, process as much information as you can and make up your own path in out of it. So the child workshops, the youth workshops, the club planning workshops, they're kind of the main tools.
Yeah, your youth workshops in column, like, or like it says there on the thing, like, your physical development, your warm ups. James McCarthy there did a good warm up.
Yeah.
In Nemo a couple of weeks ago, with the ball, where he's working with the ball constantly, like, game based training and communication with players, skill development. I suppose, look, we're talking about the club again. I keep going back to the club because this is what it's all about, Colin, really, like, isn't it? The club, like, the structure. Like, for me, if you have a very good nursery, and a good setup in your nursery, and you get them up to a certain skill level, that when they come into like 13 years of age, you change your style really. A lot of your training should nearly go game based.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean that you stop training or stop coaching skills? Then I get that question a lot. And I'm saying, like, of course it isn't. Like, you're doing the skills through the games. You might start the ball back with the cornerback and say, right, we're going to start the game from here today. do little scenarios and do little set plays, and play a lot of game-based training stuffs. And what I would do, like, is when I do it, like, you have to train your eye really, like, from 13 up, like that. When the game is on, if you're not seeing sufficient amount of blockdowns or hooks, or if you're not seeing enough of the kicking or striking off your weak side, or whatever you want to be looking for, that you'd stop it, you'd bring them in, and you'd have a chat, and you'd express what's going on in your head, like. You'd say, look, I'm not happy about this. No, I'm very happy with this area, but I'm not happy with this section, and set them back out again. And then if you feel that when they go out again for the next 5 minutes and the game is going on again and it's still not happening, so you have a decision to make now, like, you're analysing, you're making decisions while it's going on. And the decisions you're going to make are, like, am I happy with the size of the pitch? Just because they're not blocking down, is there too much space? Do I need to narrow it down? Or would I want to do a drill? And, like, if you want to do a drill, then and do a blocking drill or do whatever, if you feel that you need to do a drill, well, then the drill comes in and you do the drill, but go back into the game again. So 13 up, I think that if you have a very good nursery and they are very competent in their skills and they're after learning an awful lot, through a good structure in your nursery coming through into your onto 12, from 13 on, you could nearly start your game-based training once you have a trained eye, and they're keep an eye on the skills and make sure that you're happy about what's happening on the pitch. Let's explain it, Colin.
Yeah, and like I said, I suppose, look, it's not black or white game-based coaching versus drill-based. It's finding the grey in the middle to suit your group and their skill set. And just the last one you might just touch on, Pat, is the club planning workshops then for them there.
The which column?
The club planning workshops. So you'd have the club coaching structures.
We kind of went through that at the beginning there. The club planning workshop is what we were kind of talking about a while ago. Really. But that's going in really and sitting down with the coaching officer and maybe the coaching committee, the chairperson. I'd nearly always insist in having the adult club chairperson and the juvenile club chairperson or secretary present at those meetings. I think it's very, very important that, clubs are linked together. We'll say, like my own club now in Buttevant, like, that the adult club and the juvenile club, like, would be both having input into the juvenile players, and we would both understanding what's going on within the club as well, because at the end of the day, it's coming from the club, like, and it should be the adult section of the club needs to know what's going on down low as well. Yeah. So I nearly always insist on the executive of the adult club coming into that club planning meeting, meeting the club coaching officer, understanding about what's happening in the plan, that when they go into the adult section, they're right to explain to their own meeting about what's happening down low, and making people aware of the work that's going on and stuff like that. Having your coaching committee going through the benchmarking, explaining all the different points of the benchmarking. That's your spine, like, that's what's going to make your club over time, is that benchmarking document. And try to challenge the club to get up as high into that benchmarking as possible. People start off at bronze and then they go into silver, and hopefully, a lot of them will be in gold and get into the gold section, which means that when they are in gold, you'll be quite happy that the club is going well, like, and that they're ticking all the boxes you need them to tick, So that's what that's about. That's what that club planning workshop really is, the first one of the year. Yeah. Normally around January, February time, I did a lot of them before the lockdown came. And this time of the year now, you're going into your child and your youth workshops then,
And I suppose, Pat, with the club planning workshop as well, like the child and youth coaches or workshops are primarily coaches, but there's people within the club who mightn't be coaching who have a unique skill set that they might be able to help out being on the coaching committee or drafting the club coaching plan or being part of the benchmarking, like utilising the full aura of personnel, be it a parent who never played GAA before or might even be from Ireland, but they might be able to give something back in one of those areas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I suppose, look, it's important, like, that even when you're working with players up along and you're a very good player, you're elite, and you're middle of the road player, and then you're a very average player, and then you have maybe Led Zeppelin, I'd call him, like, that when you give him the hurley, he'd start playing the guitar with it, like, or shooting crows with it, you would have him as well, but he might be absolutely, the most important guy you would have in time. And, a lot of coaches could fall into the grey area of maybe upsetting that player or not playing that player or not involving, I suppose that player would be the proper word, And that could be the guy that would lead and spearhead your club in a couple of years' time, who could run your club or finance your club, or so like everybody is very valuable, like, and we should mind everyone along the way, and anybody that wants to join and anybody who wants to take part should be given the games and given the time, and to educate them along and mold them into, eventually, like when they come from the child and into the youth, they'll start molding themselves, they'll start steering into a direction themselves. Some of these people will straight away start getting involved in youth or into the cool camps and the Halloween camps, and they're already then on their pathway maybe towards running the club at that stage. They're steering off that way, like in that direction,
Yeah.
And other players, other ones, then will go on and play with Cork, and that's just the way. But it's important that we, size everybody up personality-wise and everything, and we be very careful that we don't lose anybody along the way.
Yeah, very good. And the last one then, Pat, so we're up to gold standard then, would be the youth players. So gold for us, what we're talking about, youth players 13 to 18 within the club. Usually we'd find that clubs are very competent and they're very holistic based, from under 12 down, where it's non-competitive. But once we start getting into the competitive side of things in, where there's Féiles and championships and counties and whatnot, clubs might lose their I suppose sense of direction a small bit, or something what stood them very well in the early years might go a little bit. So the four things we have there, four main things, are youth player coaching plan, minimum games requirements, coach education opportunities, which you've just talked about, and physical development opportunities. You might just start there on the physical development opportunities. What are we looking for in that regard, Pat?
I suppose the physical development area, like, would be, that the club would run, a physical development program. Dr. Wesley O'Brien made out one there for me a couple of years ago, well, for all the GDAs in Cork, but I use it a lot. And I send it into clubs a lot, and they use it there from, I say, Christmas, January, February on in halls and areas. Really, it's an injury prevention kind of a workshop that you'd go coaching physical development every week, once a week. You might branch off into some kind of a fun game at the end when it's over. It's a short 40-minute, maybe 45-minute session in a hall, and over a 6 or an 8 or a 10-week period, on downtime, really. Like obviously strength and conditioning is a big area, and he's doing a webinar on Friday night, like, and he's
right.
we talk about stuff like that, but it's something that should be done all the time, all year
like
long.
I suppose why we're asking for this is that it's replicating what's happening with development squads in the winter time.
Yes, Colin.
And you would have had the North region would have all been based out of Mallow, and I suppose you would have had that open all the time to coaches, club coaches could come in and watch you. Is that fair to say?
Sorry, Colin, I didn't get that.
Could the club coaches, when you're doing that on a Friday night in Mallow, like a club coach could come in, see it in action, and then replicate it the following week with his own group in the club?
We encourage all coaches. We invite all coaches into our development squad sessions, be it the practical sessions or the physical development sessions. It's very important, like, to get it out there, to know that they're welcome to come in, and given the opportunity to talk to our coaches and our qualified strength and conditioning coaches, and ask the questions, and find, see it happening and see it running, and to be able to share it with them is great. And they go back to their clubs maybe then with more of an open mind and saying, yeah, look, this is very good, and this is where we want to go, and this is the future of what we want to do in our club, and have a look at the long-term plan within their club, and not to be able to see what's right in front of their eyes, but what's able to see, in 3 and 4 and 5 and maybe 10 years time, even with a player, So you need to be looking. So Colin, we'd make it very open to everyone to come into our sessions.
Yeah, and I suppose just you alluded to there, Ed McConnell will be meeting with development squad parents this Friday night, and we'll hope to video that information, and we'll hope to get that information out to all the masses, because I know, in fairness, a lot of counties now are very proactive with like Sweden. We have in Cork, we're very fortunate, where they're sharing that information for kids that now, when there's no pitches and they might only be doing stuff on their own. No, it's a great opportunity to put in that injury prevention stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
The youth player coaching plan then, I suppose, Pat, like how that would differ from the child plan, I'd imagine, would be the child plan was very technical based. You spoke about what skills we should be doing and what are we looking for then with the youth player coaching plan? What are we expecting out of that?
I suppose, look, you're going from 13 up, like it's a different plan. You're going into more game-based training, like we spoke about a while ago. It's just a different area. You're going into 2v2s, 3v3s, maybe 6v3s, or whatever the case may be, and training and challenging and putting players under pressure. I think with youth players, every one of them should have a ball. Every player from every age up really, but youth players in particular should be having a ball each out. When they're doing these shooting drills and doing these fancy drills that you see, I think it's very, very important that somebody's running alongside them. You don't just leave somebody run from A to B and kick the ball over from C, or strike the ball over from C unopposed, because that never happens in a game situation. So you'd always pair up mine in 2s or 3s and give one the ball and go at match pace, and maybe challenge that maybe the tackler can't tackle but is there, and develop into a situation then where there is a tackle involved, that they're putting the player under pressure, kicking the ball. So that's just a little scenario. Obviously you're not going to do that in your nursery, because when you challenge in nursery, you're going to see mistakes when you see things done quicker and faster, and all these words, they're all kept out of the nursery, but they're more used in the youth. Intensity, quicker, under pressure, all these kind of words. So all them words you develop into your coaching plan at youth level.
Yeah, and I suppose beyond that then as well, you'd also as well as the tactical, you'd tactical and team play would be a large part of it, as well as the physical, which we've already alluded to, and also the psychosocial thing is becoming much more important. And you'd see it I know it's part of the talks within Aidan O'Connell, that they're very conscious of that, and that we're helping children or young adults, or young children, well, all children, young adults, develop their off the field skills, and they're learning about empathy and team play and dealing with setbacks, and they're learning about that stuff as well. So it's important that you're conscious of that for the coaching plan, that it's not just in between the white lines. There's a lot more to it, as I said, from a tactical team play. So it's very important in that. Last one, Pat, is the minimum games requirements. Again, I'm not exactly sure the numbers. I know we expected more. I think we were up 12, or is it still 10 or 12 games in hurling and 12 in football per code.
We're looking at the moment, on the plan that we had out for 2020, it's 20 games, under 14, that's 10 football, a minimum of 10 football and 10 hurling games, 20 under 16 and 20 minor games, 10 and 10. And, they may include challenge matches or tournaments or blitzes or whatever they've been invited into, But again, no, that for me, would be a minimum, of 10 matches. When you think that, if you're under 14 football team are going out for the year and they're only going to play 10 matches in the whole year, I think, and I'd say only, in brackets there, I think, they should be playing more games than 10, For me, but that's just me, as a coach, I'd like to see him playing more games than that, So I think this, the more challenges and the more games you play with kids and with youth players, the better it is for them,
Yeah, and I suppose we touched on that last week with Paddy O'Brien, in that kids at 13, 14, they're probably cycling to the pitch or walking up to the pitch themselves. Mammy or daddy aren't dropping them up anymore. So if they're not enjoying it, they're not going to keep coming back. And one thing you'd be sure they enjoy it is matches. The last thing they want to do is go 3 weeks without a match. They want regular matches. And while some coaches might feel that's detrimental to the team's improvements, they're probably a bit ill-founded with that thinking. So we're on to, that's basically it, Pat. Just want to say thanks for that so far. If anyone has any questions, you can fire them into the chat. I know we got one there from, we got two. We got one from Paul. County player for a 3-day camp, does that county player need to be vetted and safeguarded? Yes, is the answer, Paul. Any coach that is coaching on a cool camp or an Easter camp, they need to be vetted, they need to get a vetting done, and they need to have foundation course done as a minimum. But you can, I'm sure, Shane Supple, whoever's organising the camps, will have that information from Shane Supple already. But look, it's very important that if God forbid, if anything did happen and the county, the player or the person, be it not a county player, even just a random person, doesn't have those things done, they're leaving themselves open, as well as the club. So that's very important, and that will, as I said, Shane Supple will be, I suppose, passing all that information on to the coordinators of the camps as we're speaking anyway. Jory, what age groups would you target with the physical development program, Pat?
I suppose you'd be looking at physical development from, under 14 up, really, like 14, 15.
And I suppose like it would be tailored that there be the 13-year-olds who might be starting, let's say they might be doing slightly different stuff from
maybe more running, maybe more dynamic running, and that kind of stuff, like but body weight, then, like, for a lot of body weight stuff for you.
Yeah, like it'd be mainly body weight and agility and stuff like that, and movements, functional movement. But Jerry, what we're doing, as I said, we're meeting with Aidan O'Connell is on this Friday night, just a private one. So hopefully I'll see if I can get that recorded, and what we get that information shared. But I know that if you check online at the moment, there's loads of stuff. I know there's one GDA in Sligo. Can't think of her name off the top of my head, but if you check the Sligo GAA Twitter page, she's sharing some fantastic resources every day, a couple of exercises to do, just body movements, as I said, crawling, jumps and stuff like that. Very simple. And as I said, not about building up big muscles, but just making them better movers so that they're competent movers, which will lead to less injuries. But as I said, I'll try to get the information from Aidan shared if we can. We'll just see what clarity on that. Midterm camps, should the camp program be developed with coaches of the age groups for better targeting of skills to improve on? What are your thoughts on that, Pat?
Yeah, I at the moment, I've been working on a plan myself for camps, I actually have a new plan made out for a week for the cool camp, really, where everyday specific skills are worked on, and leading into a game, working off of the skill that I'm working on in the morning or whatever, but to be very specific, but it would be a structure for the week, really, for your coaches, that are not going out doing all around the garden or ring a rosy every day, or water fights or whatever it is, like that. They're actually doing constructive stuff, and it's fun as well. It's very, very good, so I'd be hoping to get that out. I sent it on to the games manager, Kevin McCallan, the other day, so I'm hoping that he's reviewing it, and maybe we might get it looked at and get it published, maybe as a resource to clubs, structure for camps going forward.
Yeah, and I suppose just my own thoughts on that. While the camps, I suppose it would depend on the length of the day. Like if midterm camps, I know some midterm camps do shorter days, but for the cool camps, I suppose you just have to be conscious. Kids are out there for 4.5 hours. If they're doing 4.5 hours of actual skill development through, let's say, exercises that you do in a training session, they can be, one, the intensity will fall down very quickly. They'll be very tired. The quality will fall down subsequently. And secondly, it's just be conscious of the balance that, like, even as you mentioned there, Pat, doing a bit of the exercise and then playing a game or having some sort of a thing. So I'd say half and half. I'd say half the content should be, let's say, specific, but talk to the coaches and help them out. As I said, you have to remember a lot of kids as well, if they're going to be there for 3 or 4 hours in a day, the last thing they want to be doing is 3 or 4 hours of high intensity skill development. They might just want the game a penalty shootout, which I'm not saying you do 3 hours or 4 hours of penalty shootouts, but you might just have to do 20 minutes of penalty shootout just so everybody can relax, get a bit of fresh air, get a bit of air back in the lungs, and then re-go. But it's definitely something to talk about, as whoever the camp coordinator is. It's definitely something to help out there, because, like as Pat is saying, if you can give a plan for the week of even 60% of the content, and then it's at the coach's discretion, the other 40%, I think that would be very positive from a club, and especially specific to the age groups, because a lot of these coaches that are working on the camps could be 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They mightn't have any experience of actually coaching that age group, and what they're probably doing is doing the same stuff they were doing in training themselves. So, as I said, I'd bring it down and liaise with the coach, the coordinator on that. Next one, how long should a warm-up take for an under-12 team, and what kind of drills would be good? So I'll start with the warm-up. Pat, how long should an under-12 team warm up for?
I'd say a warm-up, sorry, they're on my phone. A warm-up, I suppose, look, 8-10 minutes, of maybe 12 minutes, of fun stuff maybe to start, and using the ball, a good bit, and bringing lots of movement, lots of left and right hands, left and right feet, lots of just variations, but again, like, keep it fun. I think warm-ups are absolutely vital for any coach, because being organised and being there that extra couple of minutes and having it set up. And the warm-up really sets the tone for your session after, If the warm-up is good and it's fun and dynamic and well, then I think, the rest of your session falls into place behind it, So by having a good, fun, intensive start to your day means that you'll have a good day. But if you start off on the wrong footing and you're late in and you're chasing your tail a bit and that you lose that part of your session, I think that, your session can kind of fall down a bit then, so.
Yeah, and look, similar. Look, as I said, Sean, what I advise, if you can, go back through our the last few weeks. We James McCarthy on to talk about warm-ups. I suppose more for the older groups, but it's definitely something that can be brought in, is trying to maximise the ball contacts and maximise the movements as early as possible. So that it shouldn't take 20 minutes. But I said if you can get it done in sort of, I suppose, 7 to 12 minutes is usually an ideal number, if you can get it done at that time. What kind of drills would be good? I'm presuming you're just asking specific to a warm-up, like Pat, like as I said, many ball contacts. I know, like what James spoke about was a lot of short kicking going into longer kicking, a lot of hand passing, working on 2-ball stuff, picking up, just going through a couple of basic exercises in a group setting. Anything else specific, or what you'd do, or have been done?
I'd always say, don't give too much information in training. So limit your information, limit your coaching. So, if you're working on kicking, then work on kicking and work right through your session on kicking, and you develop your session through various distances, targets, kicking the ball into space, maybe whatever. But work on kicking for the hour or whatever to be that you'll be there, and finish with a kicking game in the end. So, I'd always say as a parent, I suppose I learned this, when your child goes home and you're at home and you're saying, "How did you get on?" "Great." "And what was it all about tonight?" "We were kicking." "And what do you mean by that?" "Well, we played lots of games and we were kicking the ball over and back." And so the child has a very, very clear picture in their mind about what they actually learned tonight. I feel that when I was a younger coach and I was coaching, I was going in and out of blocking and kicking and hooking and striking and everything and anything. I could have the whole pitch full of cones, but I'd be embarrassed to say it, but there is no learning in that. So limit your information and training, work on specific skill on the night and carry it through into your game situation. So your warm-up is 12 minutes, your drills for your whatever you're doing. If it's not game-based, you work on that kicking drill or that striking drill or whatever you're doing, and you develop it into the game situation in the end, and you give rewards for, the times that they do that skill well. Maybe give them an extra score for it, or whatever the case may be. If it's a high catch over your head and they go up and they pull it down from over their head, and you're going to say, right, well, that's a score for him. Give targets. So I'd say, limit your information, be specific, and send the child home with a message. And always use the parent in, I would be always fearful of that. When the child goes home, what are they going to say to mum or dad when they go home? Because you should be worried about that as a coach. You should be thinking about things like that, because that helps you. That helps you to get your message across on the pitch to the child. What did I learn today? What went on in training?
Yeah, and I suppose the last thing, Sean, and that would be lots of movement. As I said, I hate seeing 3 facing 3, kick the ball up, run to the back line, make it as game-like as possible, especially if you're going to play matches that you're not standing straight lines uncontested. You're actually doing something, be it 3-on-1 or 2-on-1, piggy in the middle where they have to do a high catch or they have to do a low hand pass or something like that. I do in sort of those little games where they might get lots of ball contacts in a short space. Next one, will benchmarking be taking place this year with current restrictions? We had this discussion, was it 2 weeks ago, Pat, I think, where we hope to hold, we hope to hold some sort of a form of benchmarking.
We have modified it down, We've changed it around and modified it down, but again, like that, we're only waiting to see what's going to happen ourselves. We are ready to go with it. And obviously we've made it very achievable for clubs in the climate that we're in and in the time frame that they might be in the end. And we may have to modify it or reduce it down again, but I think it's important we do it. The benchmark isn't about the GDA. It's not about Cork. It's not about anything. It's about your club. It's about your club player. It's about your club and your structure in your club. And that, in turn then comes into Cork and everybody else up the ladder, But it's about you, really. Benchmarking is about you. And so, yes, we have it modified. We have it ready to go. It's only just maybe to see when we're going to go with it. And if we have to adjust it more, we will.
Yeah, so just as on that, clubs can be proactive. There is a number of things that we do ask clubs to do as part of benchmarking, be it a child club plan, youth club plan, physical development plan, workshops for coaches. These are all things that can still happen via webinars or via other things. So it's important to try to have a look at it, have a look at last year's one. Think of the things that are in it that you can actually still do. I know you can't play matches, but there's a load of other things that can be done, and I'd advise get that done. We'll be modifying, I suppose, the things, Pat, what we will be modifying is number of games played and stuff like that. But as I said, the rest of the stuff is still under control there. I think that's it, Pat. I don't think we've any other questions at the moment. So look, we're nearly an hour in the go. As I said, thanks to everyone for joining us. I'll put this up and we'll make a podcast out of it and we'll throw it up on YouTube. And if anyone has any questions, you can fire them at Pat or myself or both. You should both get our details on the rebelcoaching.com website as well as on Twitter. So if you've anything else other than that, you can get us there. Last one from Sean O'Rourke. What do you think of the silent sideline? Is it something that might be work? What do you think of the silent sideline is something that could come in Cork? We trialled it at under 8 last year. We didn't do it beyond that. We felt there was a mixed. While the benefits of it, of the coaches and the parents not shouting and roaring at kids, we felt it was also very dead at the blitz. But as I said, there's value to it. But I think educating the parents and the coaches would be something that we'd find more important. So Pat alluded to it earlier on, that rather than shouting at it from the sideline, you actually go in and have the quick chat with the kid to discuss it. Would that be right, Pat? Your own thoughts on it?
Yeah, we touched on it a while ago. I think it's vital. There was a bit of confusion about it. Like I was in Donrell, and you hear a pin drop on the pitch. Yeah. Parents, kids, even in bogies, were afraid to open their mouths. It was very funny. But it directed at coaches really. And like I say, if the coach could maybe run in and get the message in silently and just get a little word in the ear and back out again fast, that they're not in. And you're not giving notes and not roaring at the young lad or whatever, putting them off, I think that would be very beneficial. And if we could start maybe down low column, it's the area for you, the blitz that, I know we've been talking about and discussing it and looking at ways that we could maybe implement something. But Sean, I think down the line, it's probably the club really and just, keeping the mouth shut when they're playing and leave them play, and there's a time and a place to be shouting and roaring in, and it's not with kids really. It's not that age, not that level.
Yeah, and I suppose we'd acknowledge that most coaches are very good. They're very proactive, very positive on the sideline, and the use of their words. I know Wexford, what they did last year was they just said you can only say positive things. So they gave out a list of sayings like "Well done, Johnny," or "Good work." You'll get the next one. So it's all positive affirmations. But I'm conscious that there's also a few headbangers that'll shout and roar and bawl and scream at everything that goes on the pitch. But that's
in a lot of cases it's not the coach at all, Colm. In a lot of cases, it could be the granny or the granddad.
Yeah, that's true too. But yeah, look, it's something we probably will do on a regular basis. I'd say the blitzes in Park Creve are essentially silent sidelines in that the parents are off the pitch and it's just the coaches. But yeah, like as I said, I'd say that we're probably at under 8 when we do it. It's probably not the group that's needed. It might be needed at the sort of 12s to 14s to 16s maybe, where there might be more need for it and desire for it. But that's it. All right, look, we'll leave it at that. I want to say thanks very much, Pat. Thanks for your time, and thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll be on again next week hopefully. I'll get that details out there tomorrow. Okay,
cheers lads.
Thanks everyone.
God bless.